Having way too much fun on Twitter today. By the way, make sure you follow me. I'm at Jon Najarian. That's JONNAJARIAN. You can, of course, follow my brother Pete. He is PETENAJARIAN. And our market rebels have moved up over 100,000 followers. We're very proud of that. And they are at Market Rebellion. Let's get started with today's 3 at 3. It is, after all, the 28th of July, and this show, presented by me and Market Rebellion, is presented for informational and educational purposes only. You need to understand that all investments involve risk. You also need to understand that much of what I'm about to present is covered by various intellectual property rights, such as, but not limited to, registered marks, trademarks, patents, copyright. We have almost all of that, as what you're about to see is unveiled. So please, if you're going to use it in a commercial venue, ask us first. If you'd just like to share it with friends, by all means, share it with your friends. We appreciate that these particular broadcasts draw in tens of thousands of you. That helps us over at Market Rebellion. It helps us also over with YouTube. So thank you for that. Now let's get started. Pete was on the halftime report today. He'll, by the way, also be on the 5 p.m. show over at CNBC. But here's my brother on the halftime report today, talking about Williams Sonoma and the stock right around 156.73, I guess, at that time. He was talking about 156.73. That's right. He was talking about the November 170 calls. So obviously a call that is some $13.50 out of the money, give or take. That's a bit too far out of the money for me to even think about buying a call up that high. So if you're a new viewer, you know what I am likely to do is to buy something closer to the money. Here's where it was when we first noticed it, 154.28. As you saw, the stock was better than $2 higher than that by the time it went up for CNBC. That's not because we want to play games. That's because as soon as we see unusual activity, we post it up for our subscribers. They react to it. 15 minutes later, we trade it ourselves in almost every case. And in some cases, we get to talk about it on TV. Now, the stock had already moved to that 156.73 level, as I said. So in other words, up $2.50 from when we first saw it. Don't you wish you were a subscriber? Why aren't you a subscriber? And that was before we were on CNBC. Pete spoke of it while he was on there, and it did move higher, as you're about to see here. Well, I guess pulled back to 156.43, but it was at one time all the way up to 156.88. So the fact that people saw it and got into it in some cases on the halftime report, great. If you'd like to get into it when we see it, you got to be a subscriber. But here's what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to tell you how I trade this kind of trade. Because again, these are options that are all the way out in November. You've heard me say before, perhaps, that what I like doing is trading in the same time frame as the trade is established by the smart money. So that means November, unless it was something that was like January of 2023. And if it was a big enough trade, I'd probably follow it, but I wouldn't be all the way out to January 2023, because November, in other words, this year, 2021, is about as far out as I want to go. So those 170 calls have been trading right here today for, let's see here, 170s. I'm going to pull them up right now, tell you where they're trading at $9. Okay. So they are down on the day, despite the fact that the stock is up a couple bucks. Why do you suppose that is, folks? I'll let you think about that for a sec. Why do you suppose calls would be down right after the stock moves higher? And the answer is, well, it closed just a couple days ago at 153.99 after moving down by what, 1.5%. So there's been some pressure here on Williams Sonoma. And I like the idea that I can get in and follow this trade for less money today, but $9 is still too rich for me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to buy something more like the 155 calls. So I'll tell you what those are. 155 calls out in November, right at this very moment, are trading for $15. And you're thinking to yourself, well, that's worse. Instead of paying $9, you're paying $15. Well, what I'm going to do is buy those for $15 and do something like sell the 170s for $9. Why? Because then I only have $6 on the table, right? 15 minus 9, $6. I like my odds. I've addressed time decay, although these are far enough out in time. The time decay is not a big issue. And I've got a 15-point spread on for $6, which means if you're a regular follower that I don't have a one-to-one risk versus reward. I have I'd say better than a 2-to-1 risk reward because I paid 6, it could go to 15. So as you guys know, that means I get better than a 2-to-1 reward versus the risk that I'm taking. And I don't really have to worry about time decay for quite a while. It's a directional trade, yes, but again, I've got a call written against calls that I own. So that's the first trade today that I'd like to highlight for you. Second trade is one that Pete also did on the halftime report, Mattel. Now, Mattel came out with earnings today and the stock jumped. There you see Mattel higher by 101 when Pete was talking about it. They're buying the August 21 calls in the money, right? The right to buy it at 21 when the stock's trading 21.55 is double nickel, 55 cents in the money. So you can follow right along with that trade if you're me or somebody that trades like me. We saw it when the stock was 21.33. It moved up to 21.55 when Pete was on air, and 8,000 of these calls were purchased that expire next Friday. This Friday, of course, is the 30th of July. Next Friday will be the first week in August and happens to be a Mattel expiration on the 6th of August. So if you followed in here, you could potentially put on this trade, which is now 67 cents in the money, because of course the right to buy it at 21 is worth 67 cents if the stock's trading 21.67. Now, what you could do, being a trader, is sell something else against it, MAT. Now, they've just declared earnings. Stock has just moved higher by 5+% today. What would be a prudent way to play it? Well, again, you've got to decide. But one way that I would like to play it is buying those 21 calls, which I did. They were trading for, let's see, where did I get those today? Because not that much over cash. Right now, those calls are trading for bid 85 cents, offered at $1. That's what the stock trading at that 21.67 level. So there's only about 20 or 30 cents worth of premium, extrinsic premium, beyond the in the money amount that those calls are worth. So I love selling another call against these calls. If you do that, then you're addressing some of that time decay issue that we always worry about. And for instance, if you paid, let's say, 85 cents for these calls, if you sold the 22 calls for 35 cents, you'd be in for 50 cents. But you'd also be, just a one-to-one risk reward. You paid 50 cents for something that can go to $1. I don't like that. So I'm going to sell something higher. I'm going to sell something more like the 22.50 calls, which I can get right now, selling them on the bid. Looks like they're trading, 203 contracts right now. Last trade right around 25 cents. So again, I can get another 50 cents of upside, own the one at 85 cents, sell the other at 25 cents. You know what I'm paying. Differential, 65 cents but for something that could go to $1.50. It's like paying $6 for something that could go to 15, right? Isn't that what we just talked about over with Williams Sonoma? Just smaller numbers here, but the theory is the same. I get better than a 2-to-1 risk reward. That's what I'm shooting for all the time. Third trade, and I loved this one. We caught it early. AUPH. This is a pharmaceutical play. They're a biopharmaceutical company. When we saw it, the stock was $12.72. 4,200 of the August 15 calls were being bought in AUPH. AUPH. I'm giving you live quotes right now. That stock moving to $14 as we speak. So the right to buy it at 15. Do you have to buy that? No. Could you buy something like an at the money or an in the money call? Well, I'll tell you, because right now there are not weekly calls in AUPH. It's just not a big enough stock. So you have a choice. Do you buy the 15s or do you buy the 14 calls in regular August expiration? Right now, I would buy the 14s. Now I'm already in this one, so I'm long the 13 calls. We're already making money on this one. But if I were establishing a trade right now, the stock, first of all, has run, and let's take a look at that. Stock has run to just shy of 14 as of moments ago when Glenn put this slide together. Look at that volume, by the way, folks. Bottom right. Volume, average volume, market cap. Volume, nearly 11 million shares. Average volume, 3.5 million. You think something good's going on here? Yeah, me too. So I would buy the 14s. Right now, you could get into those for about $1.60. I would sell the 17s against it for about 85 or 90 cents, and thereby having a 14 versus 17, that is a $3 spread to the upside. I like that trade. I'm in the 13 calls, and I've already sold some of these 15 calls, which are now the #1 volume leader. So that's not a bait and switch by me. I'm not saying, oh, I targeted the 15s. For those of you that want to buy the 15s, go ahead. You could have a much bigger winner than I'll have because I'm long the 13s and have sold the 15s. But I did it because I want risk mitigation from time decay as well as volatility compression. That's why I did it. As you know, if you're a regular viewer or listener, what I like to do is 1-to-1 call spreads. I buy in at the money, sell a higher strike. And in some cases, that means I'm actually selling the strike that we're talking about here as far as unusual activity. Right now, that's up over 8,700 contracts. When it was here, it was 4,200 contracts earlier today. So it's doubled up on volume since we saw it when it was sub $13 this morning. I'll also point out, folks, that some people, I know some of you, will sell puts, obligating themselves to buy the stock. Not saying that's a bad trade. Most of us would say that, well, if the stock has run up to 14, maybe I want to sell the 13 puts and collect $1.10. What does that mean? Effectively, if it drops, you're long stock at $11.90. Why is that? $13 minus $1.10 would be $11.90. So for those of you who would say, I'm comfortable with that, I like not paying for something, well, you're collecting a credit if you sell that put. And in this case, I'm talking about the 13 puts, not advice, telling you how it works. You do have to put up money to sell that put because you're obligating yourself to be the insurance company to buy shares at 13 if indeed you write or sell that put. Now, for those of you who like that strategy but aren't comfortable with unlimited downside risk, you could sell that put for $1.10. You could buy the 11 put for 40 cents, thus collecting 70 cents for a $2 spread. Worst that could happen is you lose $1.30. Best that could happen is you keep the 70 cents. So I'm just pointing out there are many different ways to trade unusual option activity. If you'd like to learn more about that, well, our favorite strategies for uncertain times is going to be playing today live with my brother Pete right at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Pete will be on there. I think he's on with Ryan Mastro, folks, and they're going to be talking about strategies for uncertain times. This would certainly fit into that. but I won't steal their thunder. I'll let them tell you about the strategies. You've got to sign up at marketrebellion.com to join. That's marketrebellion.com. Sign up for the webinar now so you can join Pete and Ryan at 4 p.m. And as far as questions, shoot them in, folks. I'll get to them tomorrow. Questions at Jon Najarian on Twitter. That's @ JONNAJARIAN. Thank you, folks. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you for my 60-second workout video tomorrow, and then I'll see you for the daily crypto bite, and then halftime report. I'll be back on the halftime report tomorrow at noon Eastern. See you then.